Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into another edition of Late Night with the Borg, who is working on getting on right now, having some technical difficulties. So just kicking off the show, and he will be joining us a little bit later here tonight. But thanks for being in, you lunatics here. One hell of a day overall. Really enjoyed myself. But before I get into that, of course, thank you for everyone joining us on the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook and YouTube, as well as the FFN YouTube channel. And as always, Jackrabbit Illustrated is proud to have Kubota Dealers of South Dakota be their title sponsor. Really appreciate them jumping in. Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, locations all over this great state. You're always near some Kubota dealer to get yourself into some orange equipment today. They also have parts, service, and anything in between, anything to take care of your acreage, homestead, or farm. They've got you covered with reliable equipment and service should you have an off chance need it, or just that yearly service taken care of for you. This game, I think Sam Herder put it best with his tweet about the game, that SDSU was in full control, but this was a sleepy win. SDSU is 3-0, 2 ranked wins, owns the best FCS versus FCS win. Yet there's still a lot of meat left on the bone in all three performances. High ceiling, but is getting judged on a high bar. Chase Mason, however, continues to make eye-opening passes. I think that sums it up nicely. You felt a little maybe unsatisfied. Seth Meyer says not too much talking about tonight. Should be a quick show. Zach, I don't need to be on a rant tonight. It's a long hot day for the blackout. I get why they do it when they do. But boy, sure would be nice for it to not be 90 degrees when we're all dressing in black for a game. So, Johnny Bang says this show should be uneventful with that game. Yeah, Garrett, I was impressed with the moxie from Drake. They definitely brought it tonight. They were not just showing up to take a check in this game. They came out hard and fast. They didn't slow down even after losing their second string quarterback. They still kept fighting, which, kudos to them. That kid, that quarterback for him, Logan, I'm going to butcher his last name, Inagawa. He really did show a lot of moxie. He really played really well, especially considering he's their third string quarterback. He's a freshman. He played well, gave the defense some fits. A lot of the option, he was really good at running the option reads and the pulls and making it look like somebody else had the ball and everything. And it felt like something that was, just hard to track if you weren't keyed on your responsibilities, and it burned them a couple times. One thing that stood out to me just looking at the stats, big one, penalties, yards, 7 for 68, and they always seem to be extending a drive or killing a drive. So that was a obvious thing to clean up beyond the other obvious things. Daniel Furman says, felt like the Augie game last year, always in control, win was never in doubt, just a blah game. I do agree with that. But I also think, as a whole, this year's team reminds me, if with the vibes, if you will, of 22, if I'm remembering right. In 2022, everybody for the first 4 or 5 games, was always asking, where's the explosive plays? Where's the explosive plays? This team doesn't have any explosive plays. What's up with the offense? What's up with the offense? No explosive plays. And you could see the talent there. And you watch those games and it was like, God, how are we not doing, more? Like, it feels like there's so much more with this team. And it just wasn't happening, just wasn't clicking. And then, and then all of a sudden it hit, and then that offense became something to be reckoned with. And it kind of feels that way with this offense. We can see, Garrett says, Mason was money all night. Every pass went exactly where we wanted it. Yeah, he was on fire. He's been doing really, really well. Just his performance alone, I think, agrees with Cody here, saying that I had high hopes for Chase this year, and he exceeded every one of them. He gets better every game and has yet to turn the ball over. Knock on wood on that last part. It's going to happen eventually. But I think just how good Chase has looked, coupled with how good Loffridge has looked and everything else, really makes you feel like, man, this team can do so much more. And the offensive line in certain aspects is I struggling with some things. I think that's fair to say. In the short yardage, interior line seems to have some issues occasionally. Teams are loving to blitz us right now because of that. Some other things, but again, I go back to the vibes of 22. It takes a little bit to gel, right? I think it takes some time to gel. And before I get too far into this here, the man, the myth, the legend himself has showed up. Mr. Zack Borg, what's shaking, man? Good to see you. It was great to see you in the stands today. That was cool. Yeah. How'd you like watching from that point of view instead?
It was fun. You guys picking me up good on the microphone, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we got Quentin Hicks here, the black jerseys.
What's up, Q?
Q, I don't think they've ever lost with the black jerseys, despite
look. I'm with him, man. Like they have lost twice. First off, in the black jerseys, but there's a bit of a history of maybe some uninspiring performances in the black jerseys.
Yeah.
And I think just because it is the black jerseys and the blackouts,
new black jersey though,
it sticks with people. Oh, and they look good. They look good on the field. They look really good in photos.
Yeah,
everybody's going to get their Instagram shot from that.
First of all, I apologize for being a little late in the party here. The board cave's not quite ready for my tour that I've been promising people, but we're getting there. This is actually one of my editing computers. I finally have my Wi-Fi. I plugged into a router, so now it's although now you can see all the forehead sweat I got developing, so that's fun. This is off a new webcam, and this is Brendan's suggestion. We got the snowball mic.
Sounds good.
So actually, yeah, I kind of, that and the fact it was always kind of I know we said when we started this thing we weren't going to try and have something that's highly produced, but I think the production value, it took me leaving my professional TV station to actually get something more of a production value in here. So,
hey, you know what? Hey, it works out.
Figure.
And they're cheap. If anybody's looking at doing this sort of stuff,
like $20, I think.
Yeah, they're like $20-$25
off Amazon.
And then everything's like 40. So
obviously, so hopefully the webcam's a little, and this is a bit of a slower computer. I mainly have it for my editing. But I do need to get the kinks worked out on StreamYard. And one little feature, although fittingly my head's going to block it, so I might have to move it over. We got the USD mini helmet and the SDSU mini helmet and the pegboard, which actually resembles the Jackrabbit end zone.
Love that.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I got the two alternate helmets. I like the white rabbit and the black dog, and of course they're going to be facing off with each other. And of course in this one, my fat head is covering up USD, so it's the Jackrabbit illustrated post-game show when we can't. I might have to bump that over a little bit next time, but yeah, I guess we're here to talk about Drake. So let's enough talking technology, right?
Yeah, and I was just going over. I get the vibe from this team similar to the start of 22. I just get that vibe. Things haven't fully gelled yet, and that was one where, like, it got to the point where we almost, it almost felt like giving up. Like, I guess it's not going to happen. Like with this offense, they're just not going to hit the big plays and all the things. And Seth Meyer pointed out that we didn't click on offense till the second half of the marker game that year, and I kind of agree with that. John Aker, yes, this is a Garrettson Blue Dragons hat. Gotta rep my daughter's team for her. They had a big game down in Dakota Valley today. Yeah, so but I just get that vibe. You can tell how good this offense is capable of being with Loffridge and everything else. It just hasn't come together fully yet. And you look at it's right there. It feels like it's right on the tip of your tongue, but won't come out for him quite yet. And the question is, will it come out or will it not? I tend to lean towards that it will. But that's the beauty of this sport. You never know until you know, right? So, Cody, I don't know off the top of my head how many seniors we have, and I usually look that up right away.
It's also a little funky too because you got a couple of transfers like Lawfridge, which is getting mentioned here. I think you got a lot of guys who just came here for 1 year, so it is kind of skewing the numbers a little bit there.
Right. Well, they point out it is crazy to think that Juice got his first touchdowns with the Jacks tonight. It was great to see. You could tell the one early in the second half, like he was just like, no, we are scoring in the red zone. This is ridiculous. I will say massive little negative here, but massive red flag at this point is kicking game. That is a huge concern. I don't know if we got the yips or what's going on, bringing the freshman for the last field goal attempt that I remember. And he bangs it through. So that is encouraging, but something is struggling there. Really, really need to get that going. I will say this, Matt, you're really banging hard here, and I get it. Doesn't look like the number 2 team in the nation. What about NDSU's offense? They win big when they should. NDSU has played quite literally nobody. Like SEMO's decent, but they've played
kind of hung with them a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So let's relax with the massaging of that ego. And here's the reality: no team, except for 2023, looks like the number 1, number 2 team every second of every game, all the way through, unless it's an incredibly special team. That you're coming off of a huge emotional 2 overtime win in Bozeman, plus the first week ranked game. You've got 2 back-to-back ranked games to start the season, and then you go into Drake, and it shouldn't be a huge surprise that Ariel's getting on me. You can't say we've big Ted Lasso fans here. But it's it's not surprising that there was a little bit of a letdown in this game. It definitely looked sleepy. But reality is they controlled the whole game. Was it the way you'd want it to look? No. Are there red flags still? Absolutely. Red zone performance, huge issue. Not converting on 3rd or 4th and shorts, huge issue. But overall, that's just kind of my first blush thoughts about it. I don't know. Corey Blair Jr., that felt a little bit like maybe a coming out party for him. Passenger looked good, but boy,
Mr.
Kobe Blair, yeah, Mr. Blair.
That's his nickname, so it's pretty good.
Mr. Blair looked like a man you should call Mr. Blair. He really popped to me. I'll be curious to see how they handle him going forwards, red shirt, everything else.
And Bassinger, I think it's Bassinger. I want to call him Basinger, like Kim Basinger, but there's a throwback name some people on this might not ever recognize, but back in the day, good actress. Yeah, I think he had a couple good carries. I mean, that's maybe one of the things that needed to come out of this game is trying to figure out who the number 2 running back is going to be. Because I think I saw Matt Zimmer tweet this online, and I think he was pretty right that I don't think you can necessarily count on giving the ball to James Lawfridge 25 times a game. I know that worked in the Zach Zenner days, but and he is a tough guy. I mean, God, we've seen, we saw Zach guys just hanging off in that first game, and he's.
Oh, we're going funky on your mic here a little bit, at least on my end of things. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in, but it sounds a little fuzzy.
Maybe I'll put it a little closer then here. Better?
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, that's better.
This is Zach with the nighttime vibes on Jackrabbit Illustrated, telling y'all to calm the F down. This felt like an exhibition game, and it was an exhibition game for all intents and purposes. Intents and purposes. I always get that wrong. So it doesn't matter what mic I have. I'm going to get that wrong. See if I can place this a little
Well, that's all right.
better here. But it's the nighttime vibes, guys. It's not,
that's right.
We're not too worried about it right now. And
we still got a fair amount of static. I wonder if it's your earbud.
It could be my earbud too, but I need to get better.
Yeah, sounds like a cable issue.
Well, I could always turn this off and then just go with the microphone on my webcam. So let me see if it could be.
Yeah.
You say it's good right here though?
Yeah, like the sound quality's super good. It's got that staticky cable noise issue is all that is what it is.
Well, we'll see. I'll play around with it here as much as I can. Like I said, I need to get the speakers set for my main for my setup here too. So switch that around. I'm still working through the bugs. Luckily, I got two. Luckily, it was Drake, and it's we have 2 weeks in between. So yep. I'm kind of like the Jacks right now. I am. I'm just
see the
working through the kinks.
Yeah, we can see the potential.
This isn't the Marker post-game show. This isn't the USD post-game show. This is the Drake.
Right.
Let's be real here. No, I think I can't remember exactly where we were, but it's never. I mean, this was a game they knew they were going to win. They've come off 2 of the toughest FCS to FCS games, anyway, that we've seen this season. And I just think, if you look, and, to your point about, nobody but the 2023 team is going to run through people. The 2023 team gave up a touchdown drive on their opening series to Drake at Target Field and trailed 7-0 in that game. Now, of course, they went on to win 70-7 because they were that good. This is not, I'll enhance that. This is not the 2023 team. Even if they go out and win a national title this year, and we're partying in Nashville I think the game's in January still. I don't know if they moved it, but either way, point being, they're not going to be that kind of a team. This is a very good team, but yeah, I think to your point, it is a lot like 2022. It took that team a while to get going. When they did get going, it was certainly a very good mix, but you're still talking about a team that has a new running back, a quarterback who hasn't been a starter since he was in high school of 2019. And he looked good. I think he looks good so far. Chase, if you are watching or listening this, my one critique, slide, my brother. Slide.
God. Right.
Stop lowering, especially in the fourth quarter. Stop lowering the shoulders.
Right.
We don't question your toughness, but you were a great baseball player. The fourth down. Yeah, I thought the fourth down, actually, I'm a little surprised they called that back. I was sitting with my wife near that, and I thought that was they called it short. There was also there were a couple funky spots in the game. I don't know, but back to that point, I mean, Chase, you were a great baseball player. You almost got drafted in the Major League Draft. You were all set to play at Nebraska.
Just getting dunked on. Yeah. Okay. Did you turn that other one off?
Well, it's just kind of an automatic one on my thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll turn the other one off. I'll turn this one off now and work through it.
We'll see if it's that or your earphones real quick that way.
It could be my earphones. Oh, that's actually a good point. Well, okay, actually is a good point because I do have the earbuds on. I got a wireless set of things I haven't unpacked yet. So
yeah, I bet that'll make a world of difference.
Yeah,
on what you were talking about, yeah, you were a great baseball player, Chase. I bet you know how to slide real well.
You're a great baseball player. You can't tell me you've forgotten how to do a pop-up slide.
Right. So he was going to give me a complex on that last drive. The last drive I remember was when Mr. Blair scored. Man, he took so many hits on that drive, and it's like, brother, it is Drake. Let's just get you out of here healthy, my man. That was wild. He really he went like Montana State and Sac State, he almost was over the top avoiding contact, and then he just pinned the needle this game completely differently. That's the way it felt to me, and all of a sudden he's just trying to run everybody over. Yeah, yeah, Seth, you're right. We do need to get to the point where Chase isn't running as often too. I felt that a fair amount of those weren't designed runs. I just don't. It was more escaping the pocket, taking what he can get because he didn't see anybody open from where he was at and going for it. The fourth down thing to me is kind of a non-issue, I guess, in my opinion. Like, we're playing Drake. If that fourth down spot is our problem, then we've got bigger problems, I'm obviously on the other end of the field. I think the tough part is with the angle, the cameras and everything in the Dana, and just, with it being not an NFL size, Big Ten network size production, you don't have the volume of cameras, and there just wasn't a good angle to be able to tell really where he went out. I don't think there was any way to definitively prove that. It does drive me crazy that they've just gone to the calls upheld instead of confirmed or whatever the other one was. That drives me a little crazy but in the end, I think we all can use our brains pretty well, and you can tell whether something, we've seen enough reviews at this point in our lives to be able to tell the difference if it's going to be upheld or if there just wasn't enough evidence. And I think the NCAA is just trying to eliminate the controversies that really don't matter when they say something was confirmed and it probably really should have been just upheld instead of confirmed, and just take some unnecessary conflict out of it. So, but yeah, that drives me crazy. I just don't think there was a camera angle to overturn. I guess on TV it looked like a no-brainer first down. On the replays they showed on the screen in the stadium, it sure didn't look like it. But in the end, I'll go back to what I'd say is that I'll go right back to it's Drake, man. Like, it's Drake in a 2-3 touchdown game. If that play is the problem, we got bigger problems, folks. That one, I think there was plenty to gripe about if you really wanted to, officiating wise, some things that were head scratching, but in the end, it shouldn't matter. I'm always of the opinion, anyways. Like, I like to say, oh, you know what, you're right, it was a first down. Well, I guess the score's still the same though, right? Like, and that's kind of being a dink. But I think realistically, what's something they can brag about in this game? We're getting asked by Matt Krul. I don't think it's that type of game. What are you trying to brag about? It's a Pioneer League school. If they won 75,
you're going to brag about if you win 70 to, like you said,
you win 70-0. Okay, what are you bragging about? You beat a Pioneer League school. Like, was it an inspiring win?
What you have to brag about is you're 3-0. When a lot of people thought you were at best going to be 2-1, maybe 1-2. They've got 2 ranked wins. They beat and they're in a position where they beat Montana State. So, I mean, I'm not going to say, we know the rest of the Valley isn't necessarily, I mean, that's the temptation to say that the rest of the Valley is going to be a cakewalk. And, we know it was pretty weak last year outside of the top 3. This year, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we'll maybe talk a little about what happened at Vermilion today, and I'm very interested to see how Drake's going to play. Let's also give some flowers to Drake. I thought this is a team last year. They beat Eastern. I know Eastern Washington isn't what they were, but they still went to a scholarship place and beat a scholarship team. They gave Tarleton a tough time for a while in that playoff game a year ago before Tarleton pulled away and won. So and we've seen this year, we've seen a lot of Pioneer League teams winning games. They weren't going to win this one, obviously. But I think if they get to the playoffs and they're not playing a blue blood, that's not a team I really want to see. And Coach Woodley, their new head coach, because obviously their previous guy is now up at Northern Iowa. He's the son of a longtime coach, but he ran a pretty good program in the NAIA at Grandview. So he's a good guy who knows how to coach. I think he'll probably be moving up in the FCS at some point because, frankly, Drake has put out some pretty decent coaches. You can go back to Rob Ash at Montana State once upon a time.
Yep.
But, Chris Creighton has been good at Eastern Michigan. So, you got to give some flowers to Drake. I thought they played hard. They didn't. It's it's kind of hard to say they're one of the better Drake teams of all time because they've been a non-scholarship program ever since, we've seen these programs in South Dakota in Division I. But, I'm interested to see how they'll play at USD next week. USD's having some issues. I think they could give them a game. We'll see. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I thought Drake did not look like an outfit that was just completely, over their head. They had some players. They had the year Goddard made the legendary one-handed catch, which was actually the first ever game at Dan J. They had an NFL tight end on Drake's side too. They had a guy get drafted. So this isn't. Again, I never felt, and somebody else wants it. I had one person next to me say they're going to lose this game after they missed that field goal. And I'm like, no, they're fine. Other than the fact it's a non-scholarship team, I never felt like this game there was an iota of doubt that they were going to win this game. It never, even after the first drive, because as I mentioned earlier, we saw it happen with the 2023 team, gave up almost the same exact kind of opening drive when I hit at Target Field. Are there red flags? Are there concerns? There should be from every game. But, I just, after, we kind of said it last week when maybe people were trying to nitpick the Montana State win. I don't know how much you can really nitpick when this team's 3-0, and most people at minimum expected 2-1. Minimum.
Right. Well, and this portion of the podcast, the Clean It Up But Be Shiny, is brought to you by Blue Tide Car Wash. Blue Tide Car Washes all over the great state of South Dakota. So far in Mitchell, Hartford, Sioux Falls, and Brookings. They are an ever-expanding march to take over the state. Blue Tide Car Wash. Get yourself a monthly car wash plan and get everything cleaned up. Really nice. And when as many times as you want. Just drive in circles and wash your car all day long if you want. You can do that. I've almost done that a couple times. Just making sure I got it really clean, nice. But you're not going to have something to brag about every game. You're not going to. You're going to have problems every game. Here's something to point out. Idaho at home against St. Thomas damn near lost to St. Thomas, and it wasn't they were in control the whole game and it just ended close. No, they were really in danger of losing to St. Thomas. Southern Utah, a playoff team. Everybody had penciled in as a playoff team. Lost to San Diego. 2 SoCon teams. Lost to Presbyterian. These games with these Pioneer Leagues teams, they're bye games. This is their FBS game to them in a way. It's very similar. We get annoyed when we go in and play FBS teams and we don't give them any credit for anything, or we don't get any credit for anything, and they talk like it's just a bunch of bums rolling out on the field, and then we go, see, look, we're actually pretty good. They're Division I athletes too. Granted, it's a Pioneer League team, but they're not rolling out nobody. They have NFL players come out of Drake every once in a while, so it's not something to get yourself all worked up in a bunch about. Now, there are things to be concerned about. I've talked about it earlier. Red zone efficiency, that's a huge red flag. The kicking game, specifically field goals, huge red flag that has to be sorted out. or because you cannot afford to play an NDSU or an Illinois State or a Southern Illinois or in a playoff game, Montana, whatever, and be wondering or not able to kick a 30-yard field goal or a 35-yard field goal. That will cost you a game or two down the stretch and could cost you a top 2 seed to be able to play at home in Brookings and derail all your dreams. That's a huge red flag.
Give me 1 second, too. I'm going to try and do a mini fix here with the audio.
Yeah.
So I'll let you
I got a feeling it's your earbuds. I
know. That's what I'm going to try and see if I got something I can go with that's different, because I'm hearing the same distortion in the earbuds. Yeah. So I'll see what I can do here for a quick second. But if I dip off camera just to keep going, I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, you bet. Northern Colorado almost beats Colorado State. These things happen. The Jacks were in control the whole game, but and they played what a lot of people would deem as kind of poorly. But I do want to echo, I don't remember who it was who was being interviewed in the post game. They're not going to apologize for a win, and they shouldn't. We're acting like this was some, we needed a miracle to win at the end. It was 37-21, and they scored against the backups. We had subs in. This wasn't some tight neck and neck thing. Jacks were always winning the whole way through. It was just they didn't look crisp, and they haven't yet, and that happens. Am I thrilled by it? No, but I guarantee the team's not either. They're not sitting back patting themselves on the back. They did just win 2 top 25 FCS games. I don't think the right play is to judge what this team's going to be off of an exhibition game against Drake the weekend after you just won a double overtime thriller in one of the hardest places in the country to play in FCS football. Let's not be nuts here. And I think most everybody in the comments is kind of on board with that. So I'm going to stop banging that drum. That's quite enough from me. Other than that, there's really not a lot to talk about in this game. You gained 436 yards, again, a bunch of yards, average 6.5 yards a play. I think there was some things with that new quarterback when their second, technically third string quarterback, but their second quarterback of the game came in. I think some of the option stuff threw us for a loop a little bit, but they kind of ended up locking that down. It was nice to see interception, see a really acrobatic interception. That was a sweet pick. Forcing some turnovers, forcing the fumble, game breaking plays there. Seeing some big long plays get busted out, a big long toss down the middle from Chase, gashing them with some big runs. Those are positive things. Other than that, I don't think you can take too much away from this game. You look ahead to Mercyhurst, and Mercyhurst could be problematic. They gave, I think going forward, the initial thought process was they're kind of like, God, now my brain's blanking. Lindenwood, it's going to be a Lindenwood-esque situation where you just woodshed them 50-something to nothing. I don't think that's the case. Mercyhurst just today put a hell of a scare into Sacramento State. Sac State was down by 2 touchdowns, had to claw their way back. It was a 1-score game until late. I saw the last touchdown. I think it was about 2.5 minutes left or so to put that game to bed.
And the Hornets, I'm going to say we'll see if my audio is a little better here because I plugged in another set of speakers and I've got earbuds into the speakers. So hopefully it's a little better.
Earbuds, it's still the same. It's still the same. I think it's that set of earbuds.
All right,
but
there we go. Let's go with the speakers.
Yeah, it was 49 to 28. It was 35-28 until the last touchdown busted out for Sac State. So, that JV squad gave the varsity a real scare today. So, Cody, we have not heard anything about Reese's injury. Anyways, I haven't personally. good, bad, or indifferent.
All I heard on the radio was that it's going to be a longer term. He'll be out for a little while. I don't know how long a little while is.
Right.
Obviously, I don't think there's much point in bringing him. Like you said, I think Mercyhurst is. I saw that comment already, so you can't hurt me anymore, Dan. And you can probably hear your own voice, Brendan, because I just, like I said, the earbuds are whatever. They're gone.
Oh.
They landed perfectly in my back. Good Lord. Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm sure Mercyhurst is going to bring it, but I don't think they need. I don't think they need to rush him back. I mean, if you maybe get him back out there for. Now my internet's flaky. Yeah, well, like I said, this is a good show to work out the kinks. It's always something in one of these shows, So I know.
Yes, it is.
Buds, I just need to get my. Like I said, the board cave is about ready. It's just not quite. We're still in preseason in a sense. So.
Got to get over the finish line.
Yeah, no kidding. But I think the webcam's better quality. I think that sound actually will be.
Maybe try logging out and then coming back in and see if that could.
Okay. Well, I'm a little worried. Oh, actually, let me try one more thing here because maybe it's just. I'll try one more. Like I said, trying some stuff out. Any difference with this one?
It's not staticky.
Now, this one I have on the webcam. So it could just be, like I said, this is a little older computer. I don't know. Maybe it was just I'll figure it out with the snowball. I will get the snowball.
Yeah.
I will get the snowball rolling downhill, I promise.
Yeah, no, that sounds a lot better. That sounds way better.
There's a microphone attached to the webcam I'm using, so I obviously got to figure out what's going on with my snowball mic, and I got to get a better set of earphones, I think, as well. So, yeah, it took me a while. That's why I was a little delayed. It took me a while to get logged in because I don't think I've used StreamYard yet on this computer. So,
yep, that'll do it.
So if I log out, I'm in danger of not coming back, which some people would love to see.
You can't have late night with the Borg without the Borg.
Without the Borg,
yeah. No. Other score of note that was interesting happened down in Vermilion, where one could argue they maybe should have lost that game with the amount of fourth down stops they had to make inside the red zone. I think Northern Colorado was definitely coming from the underdog mentality of we need touchdowns, not field goals. And they got stuff from what I saw at least 3 or 4 times inside the red zone, which was wild. They threw for 336 yards on the Yotes, put up 427 yards of offense. Aiden Bauman only threw for 99 yards. It was 7-19 with a pick. That's a tough line. The Yotes, they were able to run the ball. They ran for 307 yards.
They had one guy came up 5 yards short with 301, L.J. Phillips. And this comes right after they had just, days earlier learned that Charles Pierre Jr. is going to be out for the year. And I saw, that stunk, because he was genuinely looking really good. I think I know he had a fumble that kind of led to some of the stuff at Lamar. But, yeah, he was 5 yards away from breaking their all-time record, which actually came in a loss, ironically enough, to North Dakota back in 2008. But, I watched a little bit of the Coyote. I watched a little bit of the Coyote game. Yeah, they could have been Washington State.
That was worse.
Yeah, that was worse. But, I don't know. I will say Northern, hey, unlike my alma mater, CSU, right there. Come on, Thumb, find it. There you go. I'm all this time on a camera, and I never know how to point when I'm on air. Unlike these guys, not the Iowa Hawkeyes. It could be the Iowa Hawkeyes, too. They kind of suck offensively. But, at least they don't leave Vermilion feeling like the ref cheated them. Because if we're being honest, last week, It should have probably been Northern Colorado. Probably should have gone to Vermilion with an FBS win under their belt.
Yep.
But I mean, any voter with USD in the top 25 better get that same energy. I still think I'm a little surprised they were 12 after Lamar.
I'm struggling to see it right now. I just
in the top 25, but they're definitely on the brink at this point. It's more because, and it might be as much because of what they did a year ago. But I said it a week ago here that I think Bauman is definitely dealing with some of the same stuff we saw with Mark Gronowski last year, where he lost all the guys he had a lot of chemistry with. He's really keying in pretty hard on Jack Martins, who is one of their only returners. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Javion Phelps is hurt, because I keep thinking he's going to be a break. I mean, he was the guy who, of course, had the big touchdown catch to beat NDSU last year. A couple of big catches in that game. But I don't know if he's hurt right now. I'm not sure there. But, you're talking about entirely – it took Mark and last year's crew some time to sync up, because you have just, and this is even different because these are transfers. It's not like at SDSU a year ago where a lot of the guys they had were guys who had been there and had worked. I mean, some of these guys came in at the last minute, considering who they lost in the portal. So, but he's not. I would also imagine if Aiden were here, he would say Aiden is not playing well either. I mean, he was missing some throws. We saw that at Lamar. I don't think Iowa State's a great judge because Iowa State is good now. Somehow they ended up at Arkansas State today, so go figure on that one. But, Aiden's not playing well. I think defensively they lost a lot, although I think they do have to be pretty happy with their short yardage defense, which you alluded to. But they've got some issues, and that's why I'm very curious to see what happens, even though we'll be on a bye. In this show, I'm curious to see what happens with Drake next week.
Your static's back big time.
Oh, okay. Stupid thing. There we go. We're good. Figured I'd give it one more try because I know you don't necessarily like having an echo. I don't know. It could be this computer. Might have to go back to my laptop. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what USD and Drake, how that plays next week. I'm assuming Drake will probably run that same quarterback, depending on how bad their original I mean, they were down 2 quarterbacks. So, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's, they won. I think maybe Northern Colorado is a little better than they've been over the years because, whatever you think of USD, they probably should have beaten CSU. We'll see. I mean, there's definitely some issues there. The defense is not what it was a year ago at USD, and it's been such a crutch. It's always a software problem, except when it's not. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think they have to lace like the running game probably because they seem to be running the ball well, and the offensive line generated good push. And like I said, they got some good, at least when you bow up and stop a guy on 4th and 1. I don't care who you are when you're making those short yardage stops. That's at least something you can build on defensively. They lost a lot of stuff on the back end. They lost some really good. I mean, people remember who were at the game a year ago, Dennis Shorter. I mean, that guy was just lighting the, if the Coyotes had won that game in Dana J, it would have been the Dennis Shorter game because he blew people up in that game. He's gone. They lost a lot of people on the back end, so they're struggling. We'll see. I mean, it's a long year, and the even worse news is they got to go to NDSU in 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure the Bison, who had their last homecoming spoiled 2 years ago when they played USD, would like another shot at them, especially considering the loss last year as well.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Borg a little bit, or with Zach McKinnell a little bit here. Top 25 argument wise, if you're putting together, the only reason you can argue for them to be a top 25 team if you're putting top 25 teams together. Week 3, we have 3 games of information now, is that you think from the offseason that they'll get better. And that's not a real argument to have a team in the top 25. Like 3 games in, you've got to have at least one game to show it. If their name wasn't USD and it was Drake, and you lose to Iowa State the way you do, then you lose Lamar, and then you squeak one out against Northern Colorado. Like, nobody in the world's putting that team in the top 25, especially when their quarterback's struggling like he is. I will say the more difficult thing when you're comparing Mark last year to Bowman this year is, I think Bowman is being asked to have to do even more. He has less of a supporting cast at the moment, and losing Pierre is just brutal. It just is. And granted, you ran for a ton of yards today.
Big Sky defense too. Yeah, I mean, in Northern Colorado's not been a good defense over the years.
Traditionally, really bad Big Sky defense. So it's tough. I'll be putting together my Redshirt Sports poll, and there's gonna be some heavy questions asked in my mind about USD, and I think at this point they're to the point of having to prove they belong in the top 25 instead of having to prove that they don't.
I'll say this for the top 25. I mean, obviously we can kind of throw the coaches poll out because it's been a joke for a while.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, if you look at the coaches poll right now, Mercer was in it, and Mercer's only game was that loss to a non-scholarship. I haven't checked how they did today. They lost to their non-scholarship team. I know they've been good in the past, but Mercer's still getting votes in the stats poll. I mean, they're right on the cusp of getting back into the top 25, even though they've done absolutely nothing. So, am I a little surprised USD was as high as 12 after Lamar? Yeah, and then Lamar actually did get in on the stats poll with 24 after winning that game. But once you get to the bottom half of the top 25, especially in FCS, it's kind of hard to gauge. So it's very different from the, obviously the bigger question, because they lost their margin of they really lost their margin of error last week by losing to Lamar. Mm-hmm. The bigger question is, well, are you a playoff team, or what's your? And now they're going to be seeded all the way. Now that we've got 1 through 16 seeding, are you a playoff team? Are you playing in week 1? And I think that's the question that they're going to have to grapple with right now. I mean, right now, 1 and 2, I don't think they would be a playoff team, but 3 weeks in, you can't say anybody. You can't really do much playoff bracketing at this point because we're only 3 weeks in. Mm-hmm. There's still 4 weeks inside, I guess, for some people if they played earlier. But right now, I mean, the worst case scenario for them would be getting swept, obviously, by SDSU and the NDSU, which they've split the last couple of years, even though they beat NDSU.
Is that I don't know. Good enough to get in 7-4. I don't know if that's worst case scenario. I think.
Well, I'm saying worst case in terms of if they could, this is assuming they don't lose to someone else, which is on the table. They've still got Illinois State, but maybe because in their mind they want to go out and obviously win against SDSU, probably number 1 because they know that's in their barn, and 2 they want in their minds they want to win those games. So for them, worst case coming into the year was they would lose to both SDSU and NDSU.
I mean, looking at this
now, it's a little different.
You lose to Lamar. You lose your best offensive weapon, in my opinion, in Pierre going down.
Yeah.
And you have overtime. It takes overtime to beat Northern Colorado at home. You still have to play at NDSU. Then you have to play Illinois State, UND, SDSU, and Southern Illinois. Every one of those teams could beat them, and that's assuming they don't have another clunker Lamar size at Indiana State or Northern Iowa or any of those places. Like, that is that's a.
I mean, I don't know if 6 and 5 gets them into the playoffs. I don't.
No, you should not get in a season. In a 12
year where the Valley dominated the Big Sky Challenge, and there's SoCon looks like it's in trouble. The CAA is nothing of what it was.
But you got to remember, there's less at-large bids this year because the Ivy League's accepting their bid, and it's a 12-game season. 6 wins should never get you in a 12-game season, in my opinion. If you've lost 6 games and you're not a playoff team. Huh?
Well, they couldn't get in with 6 loss. They'd be 5-6, so they're 6-5 if they get in.
It's a 12-game season.
I think do they have 12 games on their schedule? I thought it was 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10.
Maybe is it 11? I thought it was a 12-game season.
Maybe it is 12. I might be messing that up. It probably is a 12-game season. I keep forgetting. It's that one odd year where it's. Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably my mistake. Apologize for that. But
full schedule.
Yeah, I mean, let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12-game season.
Yeah, so 6-6.
6-6 shouldn't get you in. I mean, there's an argument, and playoff wise, I that's kind of my thing is when you are sitting where they're sitting right now, playoffs is a tough discussion to even have, because right now you're looking at, I mean, I don't think you're definitely not favored against NDSU. You're definitely not favored against SDSU. You're probably not favored against North Dakota, and I don't think you'd be favored again.
That game is in Vermillion, but still, it's right now UND looks good.
UND looks good, and dude, USD looks horrific bad. That is Northern Colorado's a horrible program in general. They've been a terrible program.
We'll see. I mean, it's again, this is all very early. I mean, I want to
right.
Because we know what Northern Colorado's been. I think what they prove this year is that going to hold water in the Big Sky. We'll find out. We'll see if they're
right.
Because I mean, they've got Ed Lamb as a good coach. He was the coach at Southern Utah when they
they beat Division II Tarleton State 17-3.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of. I'm also
here's my theory with the Colorado State game for Northern Colorado, and I actually expected USD to blow the doors off them because I look at the Northern Colorado and Colorado State. There's bad FCS teams that win FBS games all the time because they're overlooked. But this is in-state rival. This isn't SDSU at Nebraska. This is if SDSU was in the Mountain West and had been forever, while USD was a D2 team. USD moves up to FCS, and then they finally get a shot to play. That's motivation. That's like you and I playing Iowa State or Iowa all the time.
I mean, I don't think I know a little bit of the history with Northern Colorado and CSU. Northern Colorado had never beaten them. They've had some bad teams go into Fort Collins and play bad CSU teams too. I don't know. Jury's out right now on what the CSU team is. I don't think they're going to have the same coach because I think he's actually working on the last year's deal. So I don't know. There's a lot there. Yeah, Long Island. It wasn't that long ago. They were playing at SDSU and we're like, who are these guys? With these weird powder blues.
And they're still bad. In general, they're bad. Losing to Sacred Heart is what a bad team does.
I mean, I think Northern Colorado has, at least for a little bit, looked more competent. But I'm not going to excuse it. I mean, I want to see what they do. If they go out and have a 5, 6, 7 win season in the Big Sky for them, that would be a big step forward. But as of right now, you can't definitely give USC and they just need to get the win. At this point, they needed the win. I think I'm very interested. As much as I see some I don't want to sound hypocritical here because I'm telling people, well, you shouldn't worry too much about the issues SDSU had tonight. Same time, I'm like, you're USD, you really do need to beat Drake.
Well, there's a difference between a team that already has 2 top 25 wins, one of them on the road, and a team that is scuffling.
Even if SDSU had lost the Montana State game, you're still feeling pretty good because they've got. I mean, they're in the same boat. They've had transfers. they've got a lot of new people, but they've still looked better the majority of the time, even if they haven't been succeeding. USD they look like a mess right now. I mean, like you said, I agree. I think Aiden's probably being asked to do too much. Obviously, Pierre going down. You mentioned the problems they have, but it's a game next. They need a get-right game, and Drake is probably their one and only shot, because I don't think they have Murray on the schedule. Even Murray for a moment today had a few moments where they didn't look as bad as they used to.
USD
plays
plays
Murray on the schedule after NDSU. So but Drake is likely their last chance at a get-right game going into conference play. It doesn't mean they're going to, if they mop the floor with the Bulldogs next week, that they're going to go up to Fargo and win or give them everything they got. But they need they need to get right next week. They need to, if you expected them to blow out Northern Colorado, I was kind of in the boat of I just don't know. Because after you lose to Lamar, what do you know at that point?
Well, right. Well, I guess that's my thought process, is if you still think USD should be a top 25 team right now, because I think what is forgotten in that conversation is that like USD is going to have all the opportunities in the world to get back into the top 25. They're not locked. You don't get locked out forever, right? If you drop out of the top 25, but if you are a top 25 team, you should not have it be that close with Northern Colorado, especially when it's your home opener after you just had a loss like Lamar, like
difficult weeks,
a top 25 team, and a Northern Colorado team, by the way, coming off of a crushing emotional loss. You got to win that game by more than it from a top 25 voter perspective. You got to win that game by more than overtime. And
it's just with the top 25s, the voting is it's just such a different realm with the FCS. To me, being 20 to 25 in the FCS isn't that much different than being just out of the poll.
Well, and there's definitely that argument for sure. I think if you're looking at that, it's that's why you got to go off a resume, because I don't care who you are, unless you are Zach McKinnell or Kevin Marshall or Sam Herder, and you're able, you cover it nationally for a living, sitting down and watching all the games that matter. And even then, even in that case, like last weekend, I sat down and watched as much FCS football as I could to grow my baseline knowledge on these teams before I vote. Right. I could not watch every game. You can't keep up with every game. It's not, half of those teams have 3:00 games, and you've only got a quad screen at best. And you know what, if you can throw up more than a quad screen, are you really paying attention to all 16 games? No, you're not. You're watching what you can. And then you got to have your ballot out by Monday morning. Right. So, and that goes for FBS too. You don't have the time to watch every team, but you can watch as much as you can to get a baseline. But that's why, the resume matters so much to me.
Well, I think Garrett hit some of the big ones that, what's the resume going to look like? And, the one thing I will say for USD is I think the Valley as a whole is better this year. It doesn't mean I think they're going to be able to challenge, NDSU or even SDSU at the top. But I think Illinois State is better. I think obviously UND looks a lot better. So it's one of those deals where it's like I think it's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier is if they get swept by SDSU and NDSU, there's enough there that if they take care of their business in the other games, which again that's not a certainty after Lamar, after today, there's enough there in the rest of the Valley that they could lose both of their rivalry games. Still comfortably, I think, be in the playoff field, even despite the Lamar loss.
Crap. Sorry, I did not realize that it was one running back that got all those rushing yards for USD.
Yeah, he had 301. Well, no, Reed Watkins had a. I'll look at it. They Reed Watkins a little bit. But he had 301. Yeah, it was.
Watkins only had 5 yards total.
Really?
and
he must have got
his long was 7. So you can imagine how the other ones went.
I wonder if he
LJ Phillips Jr., they ran him 35 times for 301 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's
wild with Watkins.
That's carrying the load there. Good thing he's 5'9", 225, because you need to be a thick boy to handle that sort of a load. Holy smokes, he is. Yeah, but on a different note,
he'll be player of the week in the Valley. Just FYI.
I'm betting, 2 touchdowns, 35 carries, 301 yards.
Yeah, like I said, it was 5 high school record.
Yeah, that is absurd.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a little, I've seen this Reed Watkins line now, and I'm like, I heard the second run. He was running well, but I think he got dumped for a couple of really bad losses. So he was running well for. I don't know. I mean, I remember they had a transfer back from West Virginia. His name escapes me right now, but he's not factoring in at all, or he's hurt. I don't know. Like I said, it'll be interesting. Like I said, there's enough meat on the bone, I think, this year in the Valley where they could lose to both SDSU and NDSU, and if they took care of the rest of their games, they're comfortably in the. They're not. I don't think they'd be a top 8 seed. I think that's long gone unless they do go out and beat SDSU or NDSU, but. There's enough there, and unlike last year, I think last year they were still last year they were in a different position, but like last year, if you're a team that is going to be on that playoff bubble and you don't beat any of the high end Valley teams, I don't know that you get in. It's more of a question. I think this year the Valley as a whole is better, so they they would prefer obviously to beat SDSU and NDSU. But I think they would still get in if they were 7-5 or 8-4. I think they're comfortably 8-4.
I think you're a shoe-in the Valley if you're 8-4.
You're
obviously, you have to beat Drake, but then that means the rest of the way you've got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 8 games. You got to go 6-8. That means you either have to run the table and lose to both Dakota States, or you've got to snag one of those.
Yeah, I think if they're 7-5, they got to snag
7-6.
Oh yeah,
7-5. 7-5.
7-5. Yeah. Math hour on late night with Borg.
Right.
Well, to be fair, but yeah, I think if they, like I said, I think it's one where a year ago, if somebody, last year was an 11-game schedule. A year ago, so basically last year 6-5 equals 7-5 this year. So I think last year if somebody goes 6-5 with the Valley last year, they might have had a tougher time getting in the playoffs. And I think Illinois State still won 7 games, but I think this year the Valley's good enough beyond the top end that you could lose to those Dakotas, and you could even lose to somebody else, granted, provided it's not like Murray State. I think they're still in, but their margin of error is pretty low. They, it's hard to say. You can't with a straight face say well, they're going to win every game outside. They're a lock to win every game outside of SDSU and USD or SDSU and NDSU. But you never know. Like I said, it's a long. Obviously the one year that 2021, they didn't get off to a particularly good start, and then they got in with a 7-4 record. Obviously we know what happened in that year, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting year for them, and I'll be, like I said, I'm interested to see what happens with Drake next week. If they don't have a solid, convincing win, that is not the sign you want going up to the Fargo Dome. Even though they've won 2 straight regular season games against the Bison, they need to figure some stuff out there, and they need to get right game. And if they can't get it against Drake, I don't know that it's coming. Other than when they host Murray State in 2 more weeks, they need to get right game. But like I said, at this point they just needed the win. I'm a little surprised they're number 12. We'll see if they slip maybe in those polls. In that regard, which is a little weird to say when somebody wins, but like you said, it wasn't a convincing win. So,
well, Before we go too far, because I'm going to start jetting around the country here with some of these other results, I do have to apologize. I was reading Blue Tide from a different show's sponsor. Our sponsor is Dreamers Do Travels. You can look them up online, Dreamers Do Travels. Amy Dix is our sponsor. Reach out to her. She'll hook you up with travel itinerary, anything else you need. You give her a budget. She finds a way to make it work for you to get that travel done. They do a ton of Disneyland trips. They've got all sorts of different cruises and every other package available. She doesn't charge you anything. It doesn't cost you a dime. She gets paid by the places that she's booking for and getting you hooked up with the discounts from all-inclusive resorts to cruises to Disneyland to Disney cruises to Disney resorts across the world. I mean, you pick a place, she'll hook you up. Hey, maybe Nashville. Maybe you want to try to get that set up through Nashville, try that and not have to do all the legwork and stress of getting that set up. Reach out to Amy Dix and she will get you taken care of. Look up Dreamers Do Travel online and get hooked up with her today and get your travel on. Get your vacation planned for when it's the dead of winter. Pick somewhere warm. Go down to Florida, Hawaii. I mean, all over the place. They do all sorts of them. They got cruises up to Alaska. You pick the trip and they will get it set up for you. Amy Dix will get you covered. Seeing Tarleton brought up a lot, which is justified. I think we need to accept as maybe a skeptical Valley fan base, I'll say, that Tarleton is the new Jacksonville State or Sam Houston State. And are they going to have some clunkers once in a while in the playoffs? Sure, but they're also going to give you a problem. USD, when they were really good last year, didn't just walk all over Tarleton.
No,
that was a game. That was a game in the Dakota Dome, which is a tough place to play.
When you're going there for the first time.
Well, yeah. Who's used to playing inside a wastewater treatment facility with dozens of fans in attendance? It's a weird, thing people are used to. I had to get my shot in there. But they're going to be highly ranked. They will get a high seed as long as they don't stub their toe. And to be honest,
I don't know who they're going to stub their toe again. I mean,
I'm telling you, the UAC right now looks damn good. They're better than the SoCon.
Well,
SoCon used to have that argument, but
yeah. Maybe here's the other thing that we will come more into play here over the next couple of weeks. I've brought this up a little lightly, but let's just assume, barring anything could happen. Let's say that both SDSU and NDSU are unbeaten going into the marker game. Obviously, whoever wins has got the inside track to being the number one seed in the country. But whoever loses, should they be the two? I'll preface this by saying I don't think the committee is going to make the Valley runner-up number two, because I think that would look, you can imagine the holy hell that's going to rain down. But, at this point, if Tarleton's unbeaten, I think they would be the number two.
Well, you know what? And I will say this, and I agree with you. It's part of why I was annoyed last week when NDSU and SDSU stayed the same. And I get it. NDSU looked really good. But, we have all these pundits, for lack of a better word, saying we love these games like Montana State and SDSU. We love these games. We want more of these games. And then the reward is you stay exactly where you were. And now everything matters about the mark. And it would anyways, right? It matters anyways. But your reward is that nothing, basically, in the polls. So then I was told, well, that if SDSU stays clean and then loses the marker game, this game basically means that they'll be number two. I don't think so. No. Looking at how Tarleton's going to be. Now you're dropped to the 3. And
unless Tarleton stubs their toe.
But in that hypothetical scenario, right? Now, what was that game worth? right? And that's what annoys me.
Side of the bracket from NDSU.
So we always say, we want more of these games. Well, reward it in some fashion then. If you want more of them, don't reward the team that played the School of the Blind down south who lost everybody, and that's not NDSU's fault, but they did. You reward them because they beat them 56-0, and they only gave up 9 points in 2 games, and great, that's wonderful. They played nobody. And I guess I'm talking big about that. I haven't checked how the Citadel did today, so maybe they went out and won big and will make me eat my words. But overall, like that's frustrating. But in the marker game is going to mean everything. That's the reality.
Citadel lost to Gardner-Webb 23-13.
Okay, so all right, I feel vindicated. Now, so. I feel vindicated. So that's annoying to me. But yeah, I agree. If Tarleton goes number 2 or goes undefeated, they'll get the number 2 seed.
And they have an FBS win against what looks like, that's the other half of it too. They beat Army, who then goes on the road and wins a Power 4 game against Kansas State.
Oh God, who did Tennessee State play?
Tennessee State, they were playing like Alabama A&M, I think. I think that was also at that Nissan Stadium, and Zach's telling us that I haven't seen that score, but I know I think it was Alabama A&M. I could be wrong.
And let's say this, that they just went into Central Arkansas, who is down this year, but they won on the stripes 56-10. Nobody wins on the stripes 56-10 on the birthday cake. That's wild.
Alabama A&M 23-21, by the way, over Tennessee State.
So yeah, it's what do you do? But the UAC in general, you've got West Georgia, who suddenly looks real good.
And they were down like, I think 11, 5 minutes to play, and they win the game. I mean, it's a shame they're not playoff eligible, because to me, they look like they'd be a team that would at least get to round 2.
Well, they basically in winning that game against East Tennessee State, basically just took the SoCon's chance of making the playoffs and did the whole action movie, walk up behind the bad guy and just snap his neck and threw him away. Like SoCon's, they're cooked. They're done. You're getting your auto bid, and that's it after that performance. But overall, that conference, man, they've been pretty good. Austin P has been looking good. Tarleton, obviously. Let's go P.
They did beat Morehead State today, so that's not much. But yeah, they've been good. I mean,
right.
Abilene Christian's been a team that was, they were a decent team a year ago. I don't know if they've got as much back this year. They lost, they kind of, they're 1-2 now, but they lost 42-21 at TCU today. And it was never really much of a game, but it's a team that, that's a league that, unlike past years, because I remember back in 2022, is the Dakota Dome Fly returned?
No, I thought a light of mine just shut off or something, but go on.
Well, your Jackrabbit Illustrated sign is still going, so that's the most important thing.
Yes, I've got to stop that thing from flashing.
I like that thing, man. Come on.
They're sweet. They're super cool, and I don't know if I've shown the other ones to you, but
I didn't see that. I didn't see that one. That's cool too.
Yeah, those are actually 2 separate ones. Friend of mine made them, and he's bat back. We're very funny, Garrett Meyer. Yeah, by the way, Ben, your porta potty joke didn't work because I didn't use the porta potty today, so I didn't see your bats in there in the bat cave.
I think look at a game that we haven't really talked much about, and I'm sure we'll probably wrap up here soon. We're not doing 2 hours. Excuse me, that's my tongue right there. We're not going to do 2 hours, folks, for Drake. I was 10 minutes late coming in, so you really see both of us working on our. This is when you're in the early season when none of our stuff is working properly. But didn't really talk much about UND Montana. The Effin Hawks, they're 1-2, but they could easily be 3-0 with wins at Kansas State and Montana. And, I think it remains to be seen what Montana is, because they didn't really play that well at times against a Division II team a week ago. But I think you go into Missoula and you play that way. They kind of maybe gave it up at the end. I'm not ready to say UND is going to contend at the top, but they're a different outfit. The quarterback Kaminsky isn't perfect, but he actually gives them a downfield passing game that I don't think they had with Romfo a year ago. Their defense, I mean, again, their defense I know gave it up there at the end, but they held Montana down for about 3.5 quarters. I mean, it's a gutting loss for UND, but it's a tough loss for UND, but it's not one that I think, UND probably should have won that game, but, the only I think no Dakota school has won in Missoula since they all went to Division I. It doesn't matter if the Grizz are still good,
right?
They're kind of mediocre, or they're bad. I think the last time a Dakota school won would have been that. I know NDSU beat them when they were Division II, actually.
Yep, the D2 upset.
Yep, but that was not. They were not D1. Even NDSU,
right.
Of course, they lost that kickoff game there in Carson Wentz last year. The Jacks have been there a number of times and have not been able to win. The Coyotes have been there. The Coyotes actually played a couple. Even some years where the Coyotes were really bad, they played them within like 6 points, but they have not won there either. UND, you can make an argument. UND's come closer, other than NDSU and in that kickoff game. UND probably came about as close as anyone to winning. So for whatever we say about Montana, and I got into it with some Grizz fans earlier this week, who seem to forget that they just lost a national title game to the Jacks. When I made that crack about how the Bobcats aren't scared to come to Brookings. Well, he's like, they're 1-8 all time against the Jacks. I'm like, the one in Brookings was in 1970, and they were Division II. Yeah, they were Division II. Something like, in more recent history, I think we can say that the tide's kind of turned to the point where it's a little harder to come to Brookings than it would have been in 1970. But,
just a smidgen.
Just a bit, and that's no disrespect to the alums who are, I'm sure, watching this show. But yeah, I think UND is the point is, whatever the state of Montana is, it's never an easy place to go win in Washington Grizzly Stadium. And the Effin Hawks were, maybe they might feel like they blew that game, but they were right there. And I think they've got some defensive pieces, and they've got a quarterback who can sling it a little bit. And, the other interesting thing with them is they've got the NDSU game up at the Alaris Center.
Yes.
Weird things happen in that building. So, I wouldn't necessarily chalk NDSU into that win just yet. I think that's going to be, the last 2 times they played them in the Alaris Center, UND won big, and they should have won in 2021 if they had quarterback play. I mean, that's one of the things that's kind of remarkable about the fact they've been competitive with the Bison in those 2 games at the Alaris Center. I know the previous guy, Schuster, I always thought he was a little overrated, but whatever. He won. And the Jacks play up there too. I mean, that's kind of difficult play. No, I think the Jacks, don't they host UND this year?
Nope. They go up to the Hawks. I
thought they went there last year too, but I'm getting my ears crossed. Because I remember in 2022 they played at.
Yep, it's the last game of the season up in Grand Forks. What they had been doing a lot was going.
You played NDSU,
UND, USD, back to back to back. Actually, it was NDSU, USD, then UND, back to back to back to back, all over and over and over. They did it like 3 or 4 times.
The one thing I'm thinking of is they had this rotation for a little while there where the Jacks were playing both North Dakota schools either on the road or in Brookings, and there it is. Austin says Okay, so that's why I'm thrown off by that, because it is a schedule.
Yeah.
That is weird. That's back-to-back years.
Redid the schedule with teams leaving Western Illinois and such. So
thanks, Western. You're garbage, and you're so. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be a difficult game for SDSU. I mean, it's always been, seldom is it easy for they've struggled to win there, and I think the new coach. He's obviously giving them a kick in the pants where Bubba couldn't. And, Austin says most states. That's the other thing, too. If you get most state leaving is probably the other big factor in the scheduling quirks. But, and like I said, they've got a quarterback. I mean, when you think about when UND was really good at the end of their Division II run, and when they won a national title, actually, in Division II, they were known for always having really good quarterbacks. Whereas the rest of the old NCC, especially NDSU, which was kind of the old option, wishbone, whatever, UND would back in the day was the team that was a little more, they were the more modern Division II team. That's how they won a Division II national title. Is they had a downfield passing game, and a lot of others didn't. And it's been kind of shocking to see that go away. Again, I know some people really will stand behind Tommy Schuster up there. I was never that in love with the guy. He wasn't the best quarterback I ever saw. He wasn't the worst quarterback I ever saw. But, they've not had a dynamic quarterback presence up there. I don't know. When's the last time they had a quarterback that you feared? And
right.
Maybe this Kaminsky guy's it. We'll see. But if they could get that element back in their game and be explosive, they still have a couple of decent running backs. Somebody else points out they're playing kind of a 3-5. They're playing a 3 down lineman along the front lines. So I don't know. It's a promising showing for UND. I know there's no moral victories. The Big Sky really needed that win. Because if they had lost, what do you hang your hat on if you're the Big Sky after the quote-unquote Big Sky Valley Challenge? They needed that Montana win. That would have been brutal to have basically lost all your big money games against the Valley. So let's welcome back Western Illinois would absolutely be.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm sure it's going to be happening.
You need a cupcake, and they are the biggest cupcake right now they're one of the biggest cupcakes of the scholarship teams in the entire FCS. But yeah, I think kudos to UND. I think they have a good game. I think that's going to be that's probably, even though they're 1-2, that looks like a playoff team right now.
Yeah, I think that about buttons it up for us, though.
I think
before we get to an hour and a half here.
Yeah, I mean, well, and yeah, I will also add that I like the black jerseys. We could have had a lot longer debate on whether they should have gone with a glossy helmet, or I kept saying chrome. I meant glossy.
Yeah,
chrome's kind of gone out, but I'm still a bit of a hater of the Vikings for going away from their glossy helmet to a matte helmet. I just don't like that look. But we can have that discussed. But I thought the black uniforms are good. I like the fact they didn't have any striping along the sides. And it was just kind of straight up black. The cursive looks great on any uniform. That's kind of an old school look. And I thought it was a good uniform for them. And I'm sure we'll see. I'm wondering if the blue lettering was maybe a little hard for the announcers to see. Because, I thought it popped well on the field. But when you're at a distance, that might be
there was a lot of interesting names called out that worked.
I didn't hear a broadcast, so I don't know how that was going for Scotty Quaz on the radio, or how Tyler was handling it. I mean, at least they got replay and monitors there. But yeah, that might not be the most conducive lettering for broadcast people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it probably looked a little better than NDSU's quote unquote gold standard uniforms, because I kind of
yeah. Yikes. I haven't watched them on TV yet, but boy, they look bad in pictures.
Well, they needed to go with a white. They needed to go with a white outlook for a while up there, but It's like that cheap material. Like the uniform itself looks fine, but the gold lettering looked kind of cheap. Is the best
Looks
way I
like
can
it
put
was the same type of foil they put on space shuttles.
That's what they said?
No, that's what it looks like to me.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know. I feel like I've seen that. Like I feel like I've seen that, and like I used to see it on like some shirts, and it would easily chip off. Like you just knocked into it. It would be like it's like the cheap. It felt like it was the cheapest material you could get. Like if you wanted to make like a little glossy number or something, but like if you would, like the moment it got hit, it would start to chip away. I don't know what the term for that is, but I mean, I don't blame them for strutting a little bit because obviously they've won 12, 11 titles, and you can do whatever you want. And you can certainly do this. I just keep thinking of the guy from Austin Powers Gold, remember, one of the Mike Myers characters. I love gold.
I love gold.
I love gold. Okay, guys. Sure, so it was, but like I said, I thought they were SEMO did a little better than I expected, even though it was a lopsided game. I mean, obviously, some people reference Jimmy and the Washington State Jackrabbits. That'll probably be the next entertaining thing as we wrap this up in 2 weeks, because that will be CSU and Wazoo. And as I said, I really don't want to watch my alma mater lose at home to the Jackrabbits.
Twice.
The imitation Jackrabbits again.
Yeah.
And do I think Wildy should have stayed? That's probably maybe one of the last good one to end on, because he's doing well. Griffin's having good games for them, but they have probably the worst quarterback, I think, in the Power Four. He's one of them. Preston Stone has like 5 or 6 or 7 interceptions in 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I know during that broadcast I brought it up. They were playing Oregon, and they weren't going to beat Oregon anyway. But I mean, the announcers brought it up, and the coaches at Northwestern are saying Griffin could be an NFL receiver. We said that a year ago.
Yep.
We've been saying that about him since he came out of Jefferson High School. I still think he could get there. I think the bigger thing he might be wondering about is, should I have gone to a different school? I don't know what the NIL offer was. I don't know if it's quite as big as I've heard the rumors, because those tend to not be quite as. There's a lot of other stuff going on with NIL. And they brought in a transfer quarterback from SMU. And the guy can't throw. I mean, the guy is one of the. I mean, you saw it in the Tulane game. I mean, it's amazing he's still putting up decent numbers, but what if he'd gone to Iowa with Gronowski? I mean, that's so I don't. Should he have stayed? I'm sure Jackrabbit fans would have loved it, but he was getting an NIL bag, so I think that would have been a tough one to keep. And I think the question he's got to be asking is, should I really have gone to Northwestern? But there's more to it than football. There's more. There's a lot of things. I mean, the Northwestern education is pretty good, but I think that's the question he's got to ask. And we'll see. And of course, who are the Jackrabbits scheduled to play next year in the FBS?
Right. Yep. That'll be interesting.
That will. But we're done.
Yep.
Our technical.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you to all our sponsors, even the ones who got extra free reads.
And if you missed it, we will be off next week because the Jackrabbits are off. We will join you in 2 weeks for I think that's an afternoon game, right? 2:00, hopefully.
Yep.
So we'll join you probably about the same similar time, maybe a little earlier. But yeah. Also, by the way, small college shout outs. Shout out Mount Marty getting a win over Northwestern, the other Northwestern. So that's my small college shout out. But yep, thanks guys. We will see you in 2 weeks. Enjoy your football. Maybe go check out a volleyball game. Volleyball team looks really good.
Soccer team has the gold game tomorrow. Head out to the gold game. Get a bunch of money donated to Alex's Lemonade Stand.
Yes.
Actually $2 per person, because the guys at Northwestern Mutual are going to donate $1 for every person who's in attendance, and then Coach Thompson is also going to do the same. So head up there, catch out a great team. Coach Thompson has a hell of a team going on up there.
Always has.
Every year they're good. They're worth watching. If
Might
you
be
have
the
any
next stadium project.
kids,
I know that was one SDSU had a rendering for an on-campus soccer stadium that looked kind of like a little DJD. So maybe that's one of the next things on the board for them, I'm sure.
It's on the list. We had an interview with Coach this week, and he mentioned that it will go where the old practice fields are.
That'd be a perfect spot.
That would be a great addition to campus. I think it'd be great for the team. It is a good team, and in my opinion, they draw pretty well for it being down in Fishback. Most of the games I've been to, it's been pretty full.
Maybe a great addition as well if you want to try and get some state tournaments too. I mean, I'm a little surprised Vermilion because they have a nice field that they built. I'm a little surprised the soccer tournaments haven't been held there more often. But you build a really nice soccer stadium, you could maybe be getting some additional revenue with high school tournaments.
Yes, Damien, they definitely deserve a field on campus, and they deserve our butts in the seats. So head up there for the gold game. They're doing all sorts of cool stuff for Alex's Lemonade Stand. And with that, guys, go big, go blue, go Jacks. We're out.